fun conversation today. So I'm SHIREYANN Robertson. I am 27 years with Prudential. I turned 29 this year, just in case y'all was wondering my age. I must be real, right, folks? So what I know for sure after 27 years of doing what I do is the way we feel about our money permeates every aspect of our lives. If y'all got money in your pocket, you're walking around bold and excited. If you ain't got no ends, hello. So as we're talking today, did you hear that brother speak about the fact that if I am not confident with my own finances, how can I then engage with my partner with her finances or his finances? So that's the real talk we're going to have today. And I'm excited to have this esteemed panel. But you know, my mommy said to me, SHIREYANN, before you start anything, you always have to say please and thank you. So my please and thank you is saying to my awesome Prudential folks, Fayon and April, because please know there's a whole lot of planning that goes on for these events. So y'all walked in and everything was set, right? Viviana made sure all the stuff was out. So I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the Prudential crew, as well as the BE folks. So where's Fayon? Where's April? Thank you all so much. So now we're going to move into the real conversation we're going to have this morning, folks. And we're going to have real talk. So my esteemed panel is these awesome folks. So my beautiful lady right here, Miss Dominique, come on up. And her plus one, Donovan. Am I a little biased to my women or what? My shero, Zara, come on up, sweetheart. And her plus one, the men of the hour, Mr. Alfred. So as they get settled, let me kind of share with you who they are. So all the way over there to my pretty lady there, Miss Dominique, she's Miss HR. You know, every company has an HR person. She keeps us upright and keeps us straight. Then my sister, Zara, who is just this phenomenal woman that makes her thing shine all the time. Miss Dominique's plus one is Donovan. And then Alfred. Now, do we not know this man? This is Mr. B.E. himself. So let's move through the conversation and just speak about that money topic, right? Because the money topic is a very comfortable, uncomfortable, intimidating. So let's create a really safe place when we're talking this morning around the money. And that said, so I'm going to start out with this question to my ladies first. My ladies will always answer first. So we've got a marriage going on 10 years, and your first marriage. And then we have three-peats right here, but they're also on a 10-year marriage. So they've got true perspective. So we've got first time around, then we've got third time around. So I'll start first with you, Dominique. Now that you are married 10 years, what has that financial conversation been like when you first started and fast forward now, 10 years later?
So I would say when we first started, the conversation was a mess. There was no conversation. We were in a household. We bought our first home very early, but we were, as I like to call, roommates. There was separate incomes. It was just, okay, this is the mortgage, we'll go half on this. This is the lights, we'll go half on this. So we just truly weren't one. Fast forward 10 years, 11 years later, we are truly one. I mean, I really cannot speak to the fact if Donovan knows how much the light bill is because I truly cover all the finances. We have one joint account, and we communicate. I communicate when things are, when I might need extra money or if things are going to be tight this month, so on and so forth. But I kind of like manage the money, and he's totally okay with that.
Oh, you said when things are going to be a little low, you say, Brock, you know, I need to beef it up a little bit, and he comes through. Way to go, Mr.
Every
Donovan.
time.
Every time, okay. That's
through.
a Superman. That's a Superman. And ladies, you know, we can be a little sharp with our tongue. So there's some times where we can just give y'all some words and y'all just be floating out, huh, Donovan? So when she gives you those words, baby, we need a little more. What do you make happen?
For me, I mean, I've, always have the passion and the drive. I might have to book a couple extra events, sell a couple more books, throw an event. I mean, these things that I do all the time, but I might have to make, an extra phone call here and there, or, that's just pretty much what it is. I mean, the business and everything is good. I might, drop a check under a pillow or something. Where'd this come from? Oh, for that
Don't
time,
ask me
I might
no
have,
questions.
I might not have to go put up 30 points tonight. That's all. It's already over there. I did that last month.
But you make it happen. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
key
for sure.
thing. So I have to share with you that Zara and Alfred are my role models for when Boaz finds me. 3-carat princess cut platinum setting. We, this little sidebar. But I just wanted him to know that's what I need. But when Boaz finds me, he got to have it together. And third time around, Ms. Zara, you tell me what was unique about this bad brother that made you say,
Well, I got to tell you, the beginning of a good relationship is a good relationship with self.
love that.
So I was very, very clear on who I was at that point. The first 2 marriages, I was like a fart in the wind. I wasn't real sure about. I mean, I knew who I was in terms of career and what my natural talents were. I knew how to make money. And I tell people all the time, your professional capacity and abilities are no match for your personal issues and personal problems and personal relationships. We've
But
got to match them.
Is that an evolution because of where you are today? Because when you first started out, Zara, you weren't that clear.
I was not that
You
clear,
were not
and
that clear.
nobody is.
Got it.
That's the message. Nobody is. So I'm on my 3rd marriage. I was married twice in my 20s. I learned quick that 2nd time. I got out quick. So my 30s and 40s were with just me, and during that time, I did a lot of dating. I didn't say a lot of sexing. I said a lot of dating. And there's a difference. And when you have clear enough understanding of what you need based on who you are, because we all have different needs. When you have a clear enough understanding of who you are, what you need, and what a brother is going to have to bring, you're going to know him when he shows up.
And so when he showed up,
That brother showed up with all the things I need.
There you go.
People often say that we match with people based on opposites. Yes. So I don't agree with that. Sometimes it can be opposite, but I think that the universe is smarter than us. God's smarter than us. Knows exactly what we need and where our deficits are in order to bring to us all the things that we lack. And so that's what that brother was when he showed up.
so Alfred, you met this power sister, and you said, I must.
Let me clarify something.
I must have her. I must.
No. So
Right, Zara?
So,
That's what we think. That's what we heard, right? That's what we heard.
no, so Zara and I have a business called Grown Zone Relationship Education that specifically deals with that you need to have a serious decision-making framework when you decide who to allow into your life, who do you become intimate with physically, financially, emotionally, before you commit. And so I do want to make a small correction. Zara and I have been in a relationship for 10 years as of September 24th of this year. But we've only been married 4 years. We spent the first 5 to 6 years laying the foundation for relationship, which was not my nature. So my 2 marriages, the first one was a tragedy, the second one was a disaster. But because of her wisdom and her knowing who she was, and I came to the table at that point finally knowing exactly who I was and what I needed, it wasn't like, when we first met. No,
I
it
like
was
that version better,
no,
Alfred.
no.
Thank you.
Everybody likes that version better, but that's why everybody gets in trouble. Everybody likes that version better, and that's why you have, depending on who you believe, a 40 to 55% divorce rate. But the scarier statistic is that even of the people that stay together, only 2 out of 10 couples have relationships where both partners are happy. 8 out of 10 couples, at least one partner is dissatisfied, even if they choose to stay together. So, but when we met, the first thing was to confirm that we were healthy for one another and have those discussions about, everything. How do you feel about sex? How do you feel about money? How do you feel? And revealing one another, so that by the time, I have this saying, if you're doing it right, you're married before the wedding. And we were married before we actually got married.
You know, I love that point you just mentioned, Alfred, the fact that so many people spend more time planning the wedding day
Oh, yeah.
than the
And money.
marriage. And so that leads into the situation where no matter what, there's going to be destruction. So I gave you sort of a high level of my awesome panel. Everybody's got their apps, right? So I want you to make sure that you connect with us, because what I know for sure after doing this for 27 years is that there's going to be that question that you want to ask that you're not comfortable in asking in this setting. So by you connecting with us via the app, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever that is, that gets you a chance to ask more granular questions here. So I'm going to segue to another question here. So family comes with a package, right? You know, we can't choose our family. And so my baby brother, my only brother, but he's my favorite baby brother. When he got married, I sat down with he and his wife. And I put together a full financial plan, short-term money, 5-year goals, long-term goals, retirement planning, college planning for the kids, life insurance planning. I said, baby brother, both of you and your wife need $5 million at least of life insurance. She goes to her parents and she says to her parents, SHIREYANN says that we need $5 million of life insurance. Her parents immediately shut me down and said, all you need is just $10,000 and we already have the life insurance, but it's okay for him to have the $5,000, but you only need the 10. Well, fast forward, they're not together anymore, but I didn't do that. But what I will say is that the constant execution, the constant issues of marriage and family ultimately destroyed their marriage.
Yeah,
So as I toss to you guys now, how is family?
First of all, let me say this. You can't choose your relatives. You can choose your family. It's important to know the difference. Not everybody you're related to is your family. Your family is who is healthy for you. The second thing that I think is very important about what you said, and this is something I wish, it was a red flag I had in my first marriage that I didn't recognize, but as soon as you think you want to get serious about someone, make a meeting with a financial planner. Seriously. I don't care if it's just you're getting serious. Say, let's go set up a meeting with a financial planner. If you go to that meeting and you don't walk out on the same page, you probably should just end it right there. Really. That's a huge...
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That's a huge red flag.
And he was not paid to do that. He was not paid to do that. But thank you. What he said.
And we went to a financial advisor, at the beginning of my first marriage. And one of the things she asked us to do, we were way over-reliant on credit cards. And she said, first she said, you need to cut up all but one. And my then wife didn't want to go for that. Then she said, well, then just give me all of them and let me hold them until we get your credit thing back under control. And she didn't want to go for that. And I, at that stage in my development as a young man, I wasn't going to force, you know what I'm saying? You can't.
Absolutely.
And so what the bottom line is, what that financial planner was trying to prevent, because you guys can, financial planners can see the handwriting on the wall. They can tell you before you can tell you that your marriage is going to fail.
Yes.
Based on those conversations.
Yes.
So we went out of there. We didn't do any of the things that we promised to do because we weren't on the same page. And while the financial issues didn't necessarily cause the divorce, it was a huge part of the divorce because we were never on the same page from the first place. So I'm speaking to you single people, or at least unattached people, because that's where my passion is, by the way, to prevent the mistake, not recover from the mistake, which can be very costly. If you get serious, say, let's go to a financial planner. If you can't get him or her to even go,
then it's a problem.
Break off.
It's a problem.
If you go and you don't walk out without having a functional conversation about how you can work together financially, it doesn't mean you got to agree on everything. I'm telling you, you'll save yourself a bunch of money and a bunch of grief if you just say, baby, this ain't going to work.
Donovan.
I think what you touched on is very important in understanding when we're talking about the relationship piece of it and finance, but understanding your spouse or the person that you're dating, their background.
Yes.
Right? And we don't think about that. It's like, oh, I like her, I like him, she looks good, I'm trying to get, but what type of household did she come from? What type of household did he come from? Single family, single parent, marriage, not married, what did the finances look like? What was the conversation about money? I grew up in a household where my parents wasn't married. She grew up in a household, with her parents married for a certain amount of time, so she had credit cards. I didn't have no credit cards. So coming together, she had more debt than I did. I went to school for free. She went to school for free, but she had credit cards and things of that nature. Within the first 6 months, she let me cut up her credit cards, right? So, it's just having that background. But we said, hey, I knew what was going on in your household, your relationships with your family, what's going on with mine. And then we came together and said, this is how we are going to approach things and do things together. I kind of rebelled at the beginning of not wanting to join.
Donovan. You would never rebel. No.
Joint accounts. Oh, you can't have none of my money. You can't. What you mean? Like you want my account number? Like I wasn't for that at all. But it became such a headache of rebellion that I just gave in 100%. And
smart man, right? Smart man.
11 years later, 4 houses later. No debts, anything, nothing crazy like that. None of the lights never been cut off, anything like that. So, when I go, the switch works. So she,
That's all that matters, right, Donovan?
The switch work.
Right.
The heat come on. So I just, but for real, that's a real serious conversation that people don't want to have. And then it's like, man, why this not
vulnerable.
Right? Because why it's not working?
Yes.
Why the relationships weren't working? You don't even understand. And then you turn into an
accusatory situation versus, baby, how can I help?
Because we're ready to get out the door.
Right. So Dominique, you want to build on what he just said, and then we'll turn to you, Zara.
So yes, very rebellious. Obviously, I did a great job, right?
Hello.
Yes, you did.
Smart man.
That's 10 years
Honest
of work.
man.
Just so
Honest
everybody
man.
understands.
She's still doing a great job.
There you go. Right? That was good. He's bringing points.
So yes, I did come from a household where money really wasn't talked about. And, when I thought about my family and my future and what I wanted us to be secure. I didn't want to worry about if the lights were going to be, on, or if we were going to have food in the refrigerator. So in that respect, I'm very conservative in the fact that if I don't have a certain amount in savings, I'm not good. So if I'm not good, nothing's good. I have an attitude, things aren't going right because I don't feel secure. I don't feel like, I can handle whatever's coming our way. So a lot of times I mentioned earlier that I might say, hey, babe, things are a little tight or things are going this way. Donovan is very, is it on my card? Can I go? Boom. And that's his mindset, which I feel like we complement each other in that regard because we have that trust. And so he trusts me to be able to hold things down and him be able to do the things that he needs to do without worrying about it. So I think it's very big to have that communication and that trust. And if you can be honest, you have to be honest. And it's not a gender role. He doesn't feel any type of way because I manage the money. It's our role. We're a team. We're together. So whoever can handle that specific responsibility the best, that's who's going to take on that in every facet of our marriage.
But did you hear what Dominique said about security? So we as women look at money in a sense of security.
Yes.
So
whereas
do we.
men,
No.
well, true, Alfred. However, it's a lot around self-esteem. So men sometimes, the more money they have in their pocket, is the more confidence, the more self-esteem they have. Whereas we women are clearly defined around security.
I'm not trying. I don't want to. I adore you.
wait, so there's perspectives.
So I'm saying in the grown zone, we don't buy into the women are this and the men are that thing.
Yes.
That's not what we do in the grown zone. The least important thing about the person you're in love with is what they have in common with other people of their gender. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that men are just as concerned about security
as women.
The things that I want to trust on, you said words like honesty, trust,
and security.
Security.
Yes.
Though money is just a reflection of all that. So if you can't trust the person at the beginning, you're not going to become more trustworthy later on.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I'm saying. When you talk about laying the foundation, and now we're getting to what we call in the Grown Zone relationship sustainers, security is one of the 7 relationship sustainers. But money reflects all of that. That's why if you pay attention to how people talk about and manage money, you can really get your red flags very, very early about whether you need to go down the road with them. Because if you can't trust them with your money, you can't trust them with anything else either.
So when a person shows you who they are, believe them?
And money is the first place people show you who they are. They'll hide the rest of it, but it's hard to hide how you feel about your money based on how you act and talk about it.
Because we all start relationships at different stages in our lives, I want to make a point to say, and there are so many different institutions that are feeding us so much stuff about what they believe relationships are supposed to be, that as a grown woman coming into a marriage, a third marriage, and having lived from coast to coast, taking care of myself, done my own damn thing, I ain't no man about to tell me what to do.
Hello.
Okay?
Hello.
So we have you've done it. And even if you try, if you've been taking care of you and you've done an extraordinary job, you are not going to do well surrendering that.
Yes.
So no, all our money ain't all in one pot.
And that's okay. Zara. That's 100% okay. Yes.
It's not about where the money sits. It's about how honest and transparent are you about where it is and what you're doing with it.
He knows what I have. He knows where it is. I know what he has. I could pull his up whenever I want to. He could pull mine up. But even if I couldn't, I trust that anything, and that was already established. If I need something and he got a pot that's got more in it than I have, if I need it, then that's what teammates do. Anybody can be a couple.
Yes.
So Zara, let me stay right there. So you know what's in his bucket and he knows yours. So is there a dollar threshold that you guys have a conversation about before you go spend it?
No.
Or, okay, if you see something. So if you see something that you need, Zara, you're going to go get it.
Yes.
Hello.
But it goes back to the trust.
It's not.
We know what our needs are, so we know that mortgage got to be paid.
That's that having established and gotten to know to begin with. We know who. I know. First of all, I moved into his house. He was already paying his mortgage.
So you're not going
and he's a grown man. Now, that doesn't mean I don't contribute.
Sure.
And if he told me, boo, things tight right now and I'm going to need, we are a team. Okay?
But you know what?
I think
you know
also
what's,
that is just, it's what works for
It's
the
what
for the
works,
marriage.
and that's where
Good
I'm going.
point, Dominique.
That works
Yeah,
for the marriage.
what you have to do, and that's why it's good to talk with a financial planner, because you have to, based on the two people coming together, because what I hate more than anything, and I know I'm about to step on some toes, I hate this, you become one stuff. You are two totally separate individuals. I done been one with 3 people, if that's the case. Then that's crazy.
Real talk. Did I tell you we was going to have some real talk? So is there a mic that's floating around that we can get some questions? Because I'm sure the audience is now warmed up. I'm going to throw it back to you, Dominique.
But it's right. So I want everybody to understand this, right? One of the key things she said was where you get when you come together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So a thing that I see amongst young couples,
Yes.
that this is what you're talking about is deal breakers. And I've seen multiple friends and multiple people become divorced because they're not mature enough to, I got my own. And that causes a lot of friction within marriages, right? That causes a lot of friction when you're talking about people that are married in their 20s, their 30s, and sometimes early 40s. So it works for us. And I think that early on, I think it's a difference in getting together, later on, right? We've been together since we've been 22, 24 years old, and it is different. We both went to jobs, and then now, you know, we are speaking and we entrepreneurs and we have books and we have different things and we have assets, everything that we've acquired. And if it was a situation where we stayed separate, it would have caused so much havoc.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that it is important when you say that, it is where you come together and where you are and what phase of your life that you're in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's different getting married at 45, 50 than getting married at 25 and 30.
But the common thread, no matter who you are and where you are, if the trust isn't there, the system you use ain't going to matter.
For sure.
It ain't going to matter where the money is. If you don't really trust that woman or you don't really trust that man, whether they deserve the distrust or not, I don't care what system you use. It's not going to work. Can I give, before we get too
Absolutely.
deep?
And if we want to get queued up to a question, we've got the mic right here. Okay.
Here are the 3 big red flags that people ignore early in relationships that are a definite the sign that the relationship is not healthy enough to sustain a marriage. One is financial secrecy. Financial secrecy is symbolic of distrust in a relationship. Neither person could be doing anything wrong, but if people are keeping secrets from each other about where the money's coming in or where it's going out, they got my secret account. Grandma said to hide some money here. We all heard that. But even if you're not doing anything wrong with it, that's a seed of distrust that will grow and choke off your marriage. So that's financial secrecy. The second one is called financial infidelity. We did a post about this on our website, so I'll share the link at some point. Financial infidelity is when not only you're keeping secrets, but you are doing deceitful things with it. You're hiding a gambling addiction. You're hiding that other chick you got on the side that costs money to keep her, you know, engaged.
Quiet. Keep her quiet.
You're hiding the fact that you have a shopping addiction. And one person I know who has a shopping addiction, or, you know, they're not together anymore. Again, we're going to hear that a lot. But what she used to do was she would buy clothes on the side, take them to the dry cleaners, let them put dry cleaners bag over it, and come in the house and made it look like she had infidelity in money. Yeah. Everybody
You
in
guys
here
like,
knows.
that's a good idea. I heard y'all. That's a good idea. I heard you. That's a good idea. No.
Hey, Alfred. My grandfather, he doesn't walk too well anymore, right? So my grandmother always comes in the side door and takes everything into the basement and just let it sit there for about a week.
Cooling off period.
Yeah, then just start gradually taking things upstairs. You know, that's what I
That's
learned.
your grandfather?
Saying,
Oh,
secrecy in money is secrecy in the relationship. Infidelity with money usually is tied to some type form of infidelity in the relationship. And the third one, which is the most dangerous one, is financial abuse or financial violence. And that's when money is used, just like physical violence, mental violence, verbal violence. It's when money is used to punish or control another person. There's a 98% correlation. If you go to the National Domestic Violence, Institute, there's a 98% correlation between financial violence and physical domestic violence. Meaning, more than 9 out of every 10 relationships where there is physical violence, there is financial violence, and the financial violence comes first. Like if there's financial violence when you're dating, if somebody says, I'll give you an example of financial violence. You go out on a date let's say you double date and it's an expensive restaurant, and let's say the dude says, "Baby, have anything you want on the menu. You know, you can have whatever you want. You have whatever you want."
Okay.
And you order the lobster, and you do what you do.
Yes.
And then when you're in the car and he's driving you home, he starts berating you for spending all his money, and you better give it up tonight, and that's an act of financial violence that we often let go slide and then wonder why when we get married, it just gets worse and worse and worse. But those 3 things, if you see those early in a relationship, that's why money is the best way to see how a person is. If they're practicing any of those 3 things, it's not going to stop because you put a ring on their finger.
Hello. So we've got a question right here. Good morning. Right. You want to try this one?
No, take one of ours.
There we go.
I love you, like I said.
Repeat. I still love you.
I still love you. Here's my question. How do you, when you've been on your own for a long time, I've been in my house for the past 15 years, been on my own since I was 23. Now I'm back to a place where I'm thinking about getting married. I was married at 24. He and I were young then, 27 years ago. Now we just got back together. And he's amazing now compared to 27 years ago, but he's still cheap. So how do you, and then I've been taking care of myself. So how do you get that person from not being so frugal? I'm like,
It's your.
yo.
Okay, babe.
And it's, you know, how do you, I want to make an appointment with you,
She don't
first of
love-
all.
He can follow up.
She don't love you more than I love you.
Because
Oh.
you know, and I know you have to be responsible. I'm not irresponsible with money
yes.
by any means. But when you've been on your own, taking care of yourself,
You've
it's
got
like,
two different
look,
spending styles.
Exactly.
You know, you are Miss Spendthrift and he's not. But
Okay.
we won't say that.
He cheap.
I have two.
Zara.
I have two questions.
Yes.
Is he frugal, or does he not have enough to contribute to where you are? Can he contribute to this? Because being frugal is one thing, coming to live on you is another. All right, okay. The other question is, you said he's very different now, because I don't believe in circling back. I don't care how long it is. So if you circling back, you show all that. All right, well, you don't. It's not a matter of it. The truth is, he is who he is. Either you can handle him being frugal or you can't. There is no changing people. I don't believe in trying to change somebody.
Amen.
If
I
this
agree.
brother is frugal, he's probably going to work out for you in the end if you say everything else is working out. So I don't believe in changing people. Either you can accept him fully or let him go.
As usual, she was going to say that's why she should have went first. Thank you, baby.
Do you want to answer?
One, we don't believe in changing people. You know, the things we do when we say we're in love is you're perfect, now change.
Yes.
Or we say we love you, so never change.
Right.
Both of those are unfair.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll tell you something else. The fact that you are saying that frugal thing is a problem for you, if you are not able to modify and perceive him differently,
That's gonna be a
modify
problem.
your own mindset and perceive him not as cheap. Because apparently his being cheap is a problem for you. You need to
Because
check what
that was
that
the first
is.
thing you said.
You need to check what that is. So get with the financial advisor with him, get your plans out, decide what what both of you want, and you have to be honest with yourself whether or not that is something you can live with, because that cheap is gonna get on your nerve.
Yeah, if you can't live with it, don't kid yourself. Well, I love everything else about him. I'll live with it.
Except that.
That's the. But what I want to do is recommend a great resource just for that. This book just came out. It's called 4 Financial Languages: The Secrets to Communicating About Money. It's by Tara Jackson, better known as Ms. Madam Money, on social media and online. I'm one of her mentors. She calls me her money mentor. But I wrote the foreword to the book. It breaks down the 4 primary financial languages: spending, giving, investing, and spending, giving, investing, and saving. And he has a language based on the way he relates to money, you have a language based on the way you relate to money. And if you learn how to speak each other's languages, the likelihood is you probably would be fine.
Let me put a bow on.
But I'm saying you need to understand his language and not judge. Frugal is cheap is a judgment. Frugal may be a fact. Cheap is a judgment.
So let me put a bow on what's been said. So you said coming together, because you're a woman of a certain age, and I'm clear on that, because I've got my coins are now dollars, and there's nobody coming in touching my dollars. So the first thing is a prenup is not a bad thing.
No, it's not at all.
A prenup is not a bad thing. So be clear on having a prenup before you get there. So that you're like, yeah, it's a very clear conversation. So now you've drawn a line in the sand to say, what I have up to this point is mine, and then what we create beyond this point will be ours. So he's not going to have any of my dollars. So that's part of the conversation around being clear on financial disclosure. So then both of you are up front. So then when we sit down and have that conversation, commercial, shameless plug. When we sit down and have that conversation, that will be how I lead it, because having that prenup allows both of you to be clear and transparent about money. Good there? Next question? Yeah. All right, Lord Capone.
Here we
Capone,
go.
Capone. Come on now, Daddy. Come on.
There's some contradictions up there.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I'm a very successful man, been in and out of love. The question is, I just watched two people who are a good couple now. Both have been in pre-marriages that didn't work. They have the same attitude of finances that they had in the beginning, but all of a sudden they work together, which means that you have to change. You've changed since your first marriage. Alfred, I know you. You've changed since your first marriage. And how can you trust somebody if you are writing a prenup? If you are putting something out there and you love somebody that's going to better your life, why am I worried about my money with somebody I'm going to trust?
Capone, naive and love are two different things. I'm not trying to be naive with my money. Best believe. So that I love what you're saying. However, the prenup will make me feel good and make sure the marriage move forward.
I'm not a man. I probably got just as much as you,
but I want to
and
explain.
I'm not signing no prenup.
I want to explain to you how I've changed.
Right.
The difference between me when I first got married and the difference between me getting married now is when I first got married, I was not sure about who I was, and I wasn't willing to stand up for who I was. Meaning, there was a lot of pressure, like there's a lot of pressure on all of us. If you're in a relationship, you're supposed to stay in the relationship. If you're going to get married, you should get married. If you get married, you should stay married no matter what. And I wasn't willing to go against that based on everything from being the grandson of a preacher to, this. And what we spend in the grown zone doing is trying to get everybody else out of your life and out of your head, understanding who you are and what you need, being unapologetic about that, whether people approve of it or not. And what I got out of that is the very first healthy relationship in my life. And I thought the first time I was in love was I was 14. I have never had a healthy relationship until I met this woman, but I'm going back to what she said at the beginning. I finally got a healthy relationship with her because I finally established a healthy relationship with myself on my own, so I recognized her when I saw her, and I was capable to get the things that I needed and give the things that she needed, which I wasn't able to do in the first two marriages.
So,
Your last question, Capone.
she's the reason that you changed.
Absolutely,
That's
she
my
was.
whole point. She found me this way. I got myself to this point, and when I found her that way. And that's the other thing. We are told, and women get this burden tremendously, I'm going to get this fix-up project. I'm going to take this dude.
Dust him off.
And I'm
Shine him
gonna,
up.
And men do the same thing. Baby, I'll change for you. You can't change for anybody but you.
Which makes women get in competitions.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And when you get in a competition, ain't nobody winning but him.
Yep. if that.
Okay?
So-
So here's the answer. When we applauded to the prenup, I'm applauding because I've seen too many people lose a hell of a lot of money
Yes.
on what they call
Absolutely,
love.
absolutely.
And then in the end, they realize
I wish I coulda, woulda.
Yes, what they had was love. But in the end, they wish they'd made some different decisions.
Absolutely.
I am not willing at this stage in my life to lose in those ways. Now you can be willing, but we two different. We on two opposite ends on that coin. You don't have to do a prenup. You can do whatever you want. Absolutely. I just hope several years from now I ain't saying, "Damn it, Capone, I told your ass to get a prenup."
Right. Thank you, Zara. Thank you. Right here. I got a question right here.
Okay. Is it on? Okay. My name is Richard Jones, and I really appreciate the conversation, and Austin, Texas, and I want to bring a little church into this conversation as
Amen.
well, because, my wife and I are married 33 years, and she's not here because of the storm. And we're marriage ministry coordinators at our church. And one of the things we talk about is the differences in marriages, and there's no cookie-cutter approach in terms of marriage. It's different across the board. Now, one of the things we do talk about is oneness. I know that comment was made, everybody say about oneness, but that is God. That's in the Bible. And then the other thing is being equally yoked when you start off. Now, we did not know about these words when we got married as young. They wouldn't preach to us like that. I mean, our parents, and again, it was just what we saw. And we saw the parents together. But what we have understood in going to church and these marriage ministry is the words and the words from the Bible that help us understand what we were doing in our marriages that's made it successful. Now, it is a continuous process because things you have to know about each other around love languages and things of that nature. But the question is, when you think about the finance piece of it and what makes a marriage work, how do you integrate spiritually the Bible in your marriages?
I'm a Christian, again, grandson of a preacher, raised in the church, read my Bible faithfully, because you can't read the Bible enough. You learn more the more you. But I'm gonna say again, this is unpopular opinions. Much of what is taught in church about what makes a marriage work doesn't work. The marriage success rate, even among pastors, is no different than the marriage success rate of the regular population. Look at the statistics. So my thing is, and I had to learn this when I was after my second disastrous marriage, and I just had to rethink everything I'd been taught about love and how you go into relationships. What I tell people is, no matter what your faith walk is, there are 7 sustainer characteristics, and coincidentally, and I didn't think about this until years later, they correspond greatly with the fruit of the Spirit. If you look at those qualities, and the first gift I ever got her for Valentine's Day was a necklace. She's not wearing it today, but she was wearing it during the course of this event. That's literally the fruit of the Spirit. Now, when I gave it to her, I didn't know that we were going to get married someday. But I tell people, focus on these 7 sustainer characteristics. If that's there and it's in the context of the Bible, it's going to work. No matter what your faith is, it's going to work. And so what I'm saying is that, depending on what church you go, that's the other thing. Different churches teach different things, and it's hard to tell. What do you do when your pastor gets divorced? I've had 3 significant pastors. My first pastor as an adult got divorced, and he got divorced because and I don't, I'm trying not to give too many details. You guys be Googling my man. But anyway,
Right. So let's give us the high level.
He got divorced. My second pastor, I'm going to say his name, was Bishop Eddie Long. He wasn't my pastor, but the woman I married, he's the one that married us because she was his. And my third pastor, who's still a very good friend of mine, got divorced 2 years ago. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't mean that the Word of God doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, you got to get, in our book, Loving in the Grown Zone, we identify the 7 sustainer characteristics that you need to establish in the relationship before you give access to your money, your body, your heart, and your home. The 4 things we're told if we're in love, we should give up at least one of those, like in the same day, So I as a Christian, I believe I live the Christian faith. But I also know for sure that a lot of times we're in horrible relationships because some of the people in the pulpit giving marriage advice aren't qualified to give marriage advice.
Or you're told to stay in a marriage no matter what.
Right.
And in that case, then I say the Bible is a good book, but there are a whole lot of other ones too.
So I just want to say that first, I would say that a pastor is still a man.
Yes.
So we are not holding up a pastor and saying because they got a divorce that I just don't agree with that because they're still a man at the end of the day. And so I think that for us, God is solely rooted in our marriage. I've been on my knees several times going to God about our marriage, about our money, about our children. That's the only way that I know how to move, and that's what's in me. And I will say, yes, it is many marriages within the church that do not work, but it's many marriages within the United States that do not work. And I'll say the biggest thing is
With or without God.
With or without God. And so for me, God is a little bonus in my marriage. And the biggest thing that we have to do is we have to work on ourselves, which you guys have said a lot. You cannot have a sustainable marriage if you don't know who you are. If you don't know what you deal with, we were not raised to be married. And because we were not raised to be married, you might not know how to function in a marriage. For us, we were blessed that this is our first marriage, first time around, one set of children. So a lot of different things we don't deal with, but we do have family that do deal with that. And so for us, it is constant communication and working on ourselves. Donovan and Dominique have done so much work separate to have a successful marriage now. And that women's groups, men's groups, counseling, communication, church, God, all of those different things help us to be where we are today. But I must say that God is the number one priority. It's God,
Amen.
and then it's me and Donovan.
Thank you for that. Dominique, you want to? All right, Donovan. You said my lady handled that question well. I don't need to say no more. I like that, Donovan. Go ahead. Go ahead, baby girl.
All right,
Yes.
so I got 2 questions. So I want to know the definition of cheap. I keep hearing like, cheap, the female. I want to get the female definition of cheap. Like, what is that? That's what I want to know. And then
I like you, brother.
thank you. My second question is, I kind of heard like the women on stage say like, oh, if I work solo, if I like work and get my own money and got my own bag, basically, like I'm not gonna come into a relationship and like my man's gonna like get my money. So like, if you had that mindset, like coming into a relationship, like do you expect the man to just like give you money? Like how that work? Like,
Well, what's wrong with that? We get all clear. Brother's like, hold on now. So I got to give you money, but wait a minute. I like that, bro. Ladies, gentlemen.
I can answer that. And this
He's
is
a young man, Carl, exactly.
Look. Y'all stop. Okay. So, listen. We are in a space where, again, you've got to look at time span evolutions and the spaces that people are in. They are a young couple who came together, bought the only property they ever owned was together.
Yes.
They did a lot of things on their own.
Yes.
That's not the case for us. You've got to look at your situation and where you are.
Yes.
And yeah, there are some, I mean, it ain't new. There's always been women who were looking to be taken care of and look for dude who was susceptible.
And there are men who want a woman just
and
like
here
that.
we
Is that
go.
right?
And there are men
quid pro quo.
who have used their money
to control.
have a woman
Control.
who was exactly that.
Yes.
We are in a space and time today where many women do have their own bag, and a big bag, heavy bag.
Hello.
They doing the thing.
Yes.
So because we are in a different space and things have changed tremendously, we all have to evolve in our mindsets. So, and we live according to different rules. Different people live according to different rules. For some, it is the church. It'll always be the church. The church is rooted. It's got its purposes. It's good. But for some people, that's just not how they live anymore. So we can't judge how people decide to live. What you have to do is decide you're going to come together healthy enough as individuals so that when you do become a couple, then you got stuff that works. And I'm telling you right now, most of us trying to do that by ourselves can't do it. You need some help. You need some help doing that regardless of what stage you're in. Okay? It ain't the same.
Donovan, you want to help the young brother.
What do you want to know about defining cheap?
The cheap. Define cheap.
I don't call people cheap, so somebody else need to define cheap.
Donovan?
I think since he's a young man,
and kudos to him for asking the question, though.
Yeah,
kudos.
yeah.
Kudos, brah.
The advice that I would give to a young man is just have those conversations about what you want, what you're looking for, but you have to know what it is that you're looking for. You have to have that knowledge and that foundation of the things that, what are you trying to become? What do you want to do? Do you want to own a house early on? So like for me, I had a problem renting. And I don't know, I discovered it early on. I hated to rent. And it just made me feel some type of way every time I pay somebody rent, right? So I had to get out of there, right? And I'm like, you want to buy a house? And I was like, and it wasn't that I just, my mother had owned her house, and, my family own their home. So it was just something that I knew that I want to buy my house. I want to own a house. My mortgage ended up being 3 times less than what we was paying for rent. And 10 years later, that's a rental property, and it was just something that was in me early on. I wasn't a heavy credit card person. My mother, when I was in college, got me a credit card with a $150 limit on it just so I can get back and forth. But hey, I built credit. I just was one of those people that just early on, I knew what I wanted. Not 100%, but I had some of those foundational principles that I wasn't running up a whole bunch of credit cards. I wasn't trying to rent. I wasn't trying to do certain things that put myself in debt. And when I had those conversations with her, she was on the same page.
Hello.
So have the conversations early. Don't be afraid. And if the person don't want to have those conversations,
that's a problem.
that might not be the person that's for you.
And cheap is relative. Cheap. Okay, so I'm gonna answer.
But I think
that.
cheap
I'm gonna
is.
answer.
I
I'm gonna
think
answer
it's
that.
relative.
Cheap is relative. Cheap is relative to who you are. You know what I mean? So some women, if they are a woman who wears red bottoms and you go buy them Aldo shoes, you're cheap. So it's relative to that woman and what her expectations are of that man.
But see, can I just want to say, the young brother, the question about you have money and she wants you to pay for it or vice versa, it's not really about money, it's about trust. Mm-hmm. Because if you trusted her, you wouldn't care that you spent money on her. You wouldn't think she was taking advantage of you. So I go back to, you want to get the person well enough, to know them well enough to feel whether you can trust them or not. Because if you can trust them, it won't matter. And the thing about cheap, which is what I say, when you say somebody's cheap, it's a judgment, it's not a fact, is that you're saying what they should spend their money on.
And nobody gets to decide.
And nobody gets to decide that.
Yes.
So you may think that red bottom shoes are worth it, but if it's his money or her money, and they decide that's not where I think money should be spent, that doesn't make them cheap.
Yes.
That's your judgment.
Yeah, of course, I'm with him on that. I'm with him on most things. Dang, y'all made me lose it.
Well, don't worry, Zara. I'm going to go to one more question because how are we doing with time?
We got about 8 more minutes.
8 more minutes, and then I'm going to toss it to you guys to give me one more wrap-up thought.
All right, so I'll segue into this. I am frugal. Most people, some people think I'm cheap, okay? So let me break this down. I'll do anything
question.
for my... You hear me? Okay. I'll do anything for my girl. I'll deck her out. I'll buy her the red bottoms, whatever she wants, right? We're both entrepreneurs. We're both trying to get it. We're trying to own 3, 4 homes like you. We're trying to invest. I'm trying to budget. How do you manage that? So how do you... I wouldn't call it proving your love for another individual with money, but how do you balance the entrepreneurial mind and budgeting and all that stuff and then say, you know what, girl, I got you. I'm going to buy these red bottoms right now. I got you. I got it. Or it's like, you know what, I'm going to pray to God and I'm going to make sure that I pay off my credit card and see what happens. So how do you balance that with the entrepreneurial mind and also at the same time ensuring that,
I got you.
You don't look like you're cheap and you don't look like you're not providing for somebody else, right?
Thank you.
But this is what I mean about you being sure about who you are and being unapologetic about it.
So I got a good tool for you, right? So I wrote this book on balance, right? And how do you figure out and how you establish and create the balance that you seek, right? So, a little shameless plug, right? But, no, honestly, clock management, a parent's guide to managing family and business. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is understanding your vision. And are you calling the right plays, right? So you're saying that you're trying to become an entrepreneur, right? So one of the things that I had to do when we started to embark on this journey, or I started to embark on the journey first, is explaining to her what it is that I'm trying to do and what I wanted to do and what this could potentially look like, right? So we could be going to work every day, right, and buying the red bottoms. But now I'm starting to take that red bottom money and put it into this brand.
So delayed gratification. Delayed gratification.
Yeah, so when I'm doing that, if you don't have that conversation, then it's like, baby, you know, I want them shoes. And then you like, I can't buy the shoes right now. But if you're not explaining the vision and explaining to her what it is that you're trying to do, then she's not going to understand that. And then it's you. Now it's like you are holding back, or you're cheating the relationship because you're not doing what you used to doing. And that can create, you know, that can cause something. And I had to explain to her, you know, what does me becoming an author? Hey, my book can take off. Bestseller. I got to be gone. I got to go on tour. Well, you ain't home like you used to, right? So you have to be able to explain that and understand your own vision for yourself and your own vision for your business and what it is that you're trying to create. Even if you're trying to create it together, it has to be, what does this look like?
Well said, Donovan. Well said. Well said. Well said. So Prudential sponsoring this event. Oh, I have to give his me. Absolutely. He gets the mic.
I want to ask the question of three people in my demographic age group. I want to revisit this prenuptial thing. Because the question is, at the end of this, I want the question to really be, how do we redefine it? Because immediately, me and my boys take heat. When you say prenuptial, it means you don't get nothing. That's what they think it means. And the reality is, I've known Capone a long time, too. And my two favorite articles, Alfred, in Black Enterprise in the last 10 years was, I Hate the Hookup, and the other one, Why Black Millionaires Don't Ever Get Past 5 to 10. And the reason is family. So the reality is that when you get to that level that we're at, we have to take care of family. I told sister not to mess with that dude, but she got 2 kids, and I had to pay the college. My father died 10 years before my mother, so I had to pay her house off. So the reality is that prenuptial, and John Singleton was a friend of mine, and I'm looking at what's happening with his family right now. If one person, quote, gets the bag, and you have children and aunties and other children from other relationships that are dependent on your funds and you're no longer here, how do they get taken care of? So the prenup may have everything to do with your family responsibilities as a black person, given our wealth equation in this country, versus my desire not to hook the new chick up. Married once, divorced 15 years. If they don't understand that, I won't be you. So the reality is, how do we redefine what prenuptial agreements really mean?
That's a great question.
So,
Great question.
yeah. So this speaks to why we need, as a people, to really embrace financial advisors and get professional help. Because that's right, we think of as a prenup comes from celebrity divorces and movies, and it bears no resemblance to reality. Prenups protect both people in a relationship. Wills and estates protect everybody in the will and estate. It's not, oh, she's trying to get my money, or he's trying to get my money, or so we have to stop looking at these documents, these mysterious documents that's designed to take advantage of somebody, and look at it as something that
Provides clarity.
Provides clarity and agreement. I feel the same way about child support agreements. It's not about, I don't want to go to court. No, you want to lay it out so there's no friction and drama down the line. So whether it's a prenup, whether it's a child support settlement, whether it's a
trust document,
a will, a trust document,
yes,
we have to get used to, let's put this on paper so we don't have drama down the road. And here's why the prenup conversation is important and I've written about this for both Black Enterprise and Grown Zone. It's not really about whether you do the prenup or not. If you can't even talk about it,
that's a problem.
If you can't even come to an agreement, you shouldn't be tied together. You shouldn't. Whether you decide jointly we could do this without the prenup, or you decide jointly that we need the prenup, if you can't get on the same page with that conversation, why are you getting married? Why are you commingling your finances in the first place? So the reason you want to have these conversations with financial advisors, and I paid the price. There's a book in my final remarks, I'm going to give you a free book that you can get where I tell my story about the cost of saying we in love, we'll deal with that later. We in love, we don't need no prenup. We in love, my money's your money, we in love, it don't matter, it's going to work out. And we pay a high price as individuals and as a community with wasted money that could be used to build wealth because we don't want to have that conversation.
And the part I would add to that is The intent behind the trust document, so every document you mentioned there, Alfred, but the intent behind the trust document and the intent behind the prenup is clarity.
Yes.
Key thing, it is clarity. The trust document will speak to the fact that for everything that happened prior to us getting together, the family, the mom, the sister, the brother, everybody, here's how the money will be dispersed accordingly. The prenup is clarity to say that here's what I came in with, and though we are now coming together and I'm now creating a lifestyle for you, the prenup will specify exactly how much if the marriage were to be dissolved. But now, all that being said, folks, I'm gonna bring it home because this is prudential. So, as my good man Rich was talking about life insurance, the Bible says, Proverbs 13:22, a good man, woman, leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. So we're talking about legacy. Life insurance is the number one way to create legacy immediately. So if you really love somebody, folks, don't talk about no $10,000 life insurance policy. Don't do that. We're talking about at least $1 million, if not more, but that's the point of creating clarity around finances, creating the trust, creating the prenup, all of those documents. And that being said, the commercial, where's Viviana? We've got a nice little card here that Viviana's gonna walk around. So this is a Prudential session. Prudential's paying for this. So if you want to continue the conversation after the conversation, that's how you do it, by filling out that card. Tossing it to you, Donovan, to give me a closing remark.
Toss it to me.
Right. All right, then I can toss it to your bride first, because she'll wrap it up nice and
let her
sweet.
start it off. Go
Zara?
ahead.
I guess just to wrap up, if you take nothing else away from this panel, I just would encourage everyone to do self-work. I believe self-work is so important, and knowing who you are. Just being a young black woman that has been through so much adversity, just so much within life, I could never be the woman that I am today if I did not do self-work. And I don't think that our marriage would have survived, honestly. So you have to be real with yourself, know where you are, and you have to listen. And in the relationship, always allow grace. Grace is very important. No one knows exactly what they're doing or where they're going. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to be better. So just have some grace.
I think for me, I think my life changed, I think my life changed when I changed my mindset around what I was doing. And I've always been a hustler, right? Always. So when we talk about money, it don't really rattle me because I've always been a hustler, right? So I've always been able to go get it. So that's where we complement each other, because when she say, this is the situation, I can go get it. It's just me, I don't know, right? So, but as I've embarked on this, journey, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Everybody in my family does hair, right? So I grew up seeing women, strong women, running businesses. This is what I saw, right? But I've always saw them doing it by themselves. So, what changed for me was, having these conversations with my wife, because I was selling books, or I was speaking, and I was doing everything by myself. But when I'm looking out in the audience, it's just women, and they asking all these questions. And when I started to change, and it's now us sitting on the stage, she's traveling with me, and she's a part of my business, and she understands what we got going on. So it's where you get this from? No, babe, you was sitting over there. We sold 200 books. You talking about where the money coming from? Now she's in it, and she understands what's going on, and the doors are opening for her. So I think that it changed my life and changed my business and changed my perspective when I incorporated her in what I had going on, and it just what has worked for me and worked for our family.
So you're saying the trajectory of your life has significantly multiplied since meeting your bride's wife?
Yeah, I just think that
That's me putting some words in your mouth, bro.
Right, no.
Don't say yes, SHIREYANN. Yes.
I just think that when we get married, I just think that when we get married, right, we want to keep staying, you have to be individuals, but just come together.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Like
I'm with you.
we come together, right? So That's just what I see. Like,
Got it.
I want to be the power couple. I don't want to be two powerful
Yes.
individuals. I want to be the power couple.
Together you can do so much more. Zara, my Shiro. Go ahead, girl.
Well, I can certainly build on that together you can do so much more. But in order to come together, you really do have to do the work individually.
Yes.
You have to know who you are. You have to be in a space where you can fully accept the next person. And if you can't, that's okay. That's what dating is for. You know, a lot of times while you're dating, you're not you. You're not real. You're not
The representative.
you know, and unfortunately, or you try and become what you need to be for the person, and that's no good either. And so, in order for two healthy, whole individuals to come together and be good as a couple, then you've got to put it in, and you're constantly changing, and that's
Yes.
okay. Give yourself permission to change, and as she said, give grace to the other.
Yes.
And you don't control other people, you only control you. So work on you, give grace to the other, and allow evolution to do what it does.
Amen. Al?
So before I make my final statement, I want to give you a free resource. If you go to grownzone.com/buy love, get trouble. And you'll get a free ebook that I put out now maybe 18 months ago called Buy Love, Get Trouble, Sell Love, Get Screwed. How your decisions in pursuit of sex, love, and relationships impact your career, business, and financial success.
Yes.
That's a free book.
Yes.
Download. It's a free ebook. Our book is Loving in the Grown Zone. It is not free, but you can get it as an ebook pretty cheaply, hardcover, softcover. And this is the book that Zara and I are best known for. And it's literally we tell people you needed a driver's manual to learn how to drive safely. Here's your lover's manual to learn how to love safely. So, and then I'll close with this, but it echoes everything that Donovan and Dominique and my wife and partner have already said. Your job in life as an adult is to be expert on your own needs and to know as an expert what is healthy for you. And that's your job in single life. Single life is not just killing time until you meet with somebody. Your job is to cultivate your relationship with yourself, because if your standard of self-love is down here, and you meet somebody who loves you up here, your standard is not going to rise to them. Their standard is going to drop to you. The love of your life is you. You need to cultivate that relationship. And if you cultivate that relationship and you become the undisputed world universal expert in what's healthy for you, then you will know who is healthy for you when you meet him or her.
Hello.
So
Hello.
we recognize one another
Yes.
as healthy for each other. Then we dated long enough to confirm that our initial recognition was actually true, because people front for 6 to 9 months at least. You got to figure out who's real and who's Memorex. It takes time. There's no instant.
Yes.
It takes time. And
Yes.
then when you confirm,
Right? Zara,
I'm the
yes.
expert on what's healthy for me, he or she is bringing what's healthy for me, that's my definition of being equally yoked. And that's what you need to be looking for. And that's what we're about in the Grown Zone. Grownzone.com. And my
So
baby
thank you for being here today, folks. I hope something that you heard will transform your life. Thank you so much.